This episode of New Dad Order, Ray and I get into the conversation of youth sports and quitting. The ages that kids tend to quit, the percentages of kids that quit sports on the whole, and at what age does that happen, sports with the highest retention rate, as well as a situation that involves a kid who is typically successful in sports, but in a little bit of a struggle right now that everybody goes through. And would it be appropriate to remove a kid from that situation if they are struggling, be it at the end of the season, mid-season, whatever it may be? But definitely a conversation that's not always easy. This mud right here spends a lot of time at youth sports fields as well. But nonetheless, we thank you guys for joining us on the podcast. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button now. Let's go.
Ones always seem to get bypassed by the negative ones, but the positive ones are great. And whenever you hear about a parent wanting to hold their kid accountable for their actions and that their teammates deserve more, to me, that's a very positive one, because that's a parent that's willing to have the hard conversation with a young kid to create a big picture for them in life. And I think that's the ultimate goal.
This is a New Dad Order podcast. My name is Ray. We got Parfait over there.
How's it going, everybody? Ray, how you doing?
Doing very well, man.
Doing well. I'm doing well myself, man. As we get back together to talk about youth sports and the things that circulate with it as far as quitting. And is it okay to quit? Is there a right time to quit? Is there not a right time to quit? As a parent, should you support your kid in that decision? Should you be the one to take them away? A lot of unanswered questions, but scenarios that we went through in the first part of this conversation. And you had some statistics to show the direction in which, a lot of kids were going, and certain things that were answered by these kids that led to them leaving a sport or quitting a sport, which is always fascinating because we can account for personal experiences or things we may have witnessed or observed. But in the end, numbers are numbers and they don't necessarily lie. And whenever there is a decline in youth sports, there's got to be a source of it, because we hate it. We love sports. You love coaching them. I love coaching them. We love playing them. It is something that is close to us. And some people say, oh, it's not that important. Well, you know what? It may not be that important to that person. But for myself, it's taught me a lot of life lessons, and it's teaching my son a lot of life lessons. Mm-hmm. Taught you, obviously, a lot of life lessons to put you in the position that you're in right now and give you the opportunities that you've been able, to have. And you have a daughter who's on the tail end of her high school career. And obviously the life lessons that she's learned by competing at a pretty high level herself are things that you hope one day she passes on, to her kids and gets involved and sees the importance of it. But what was the biggest statistic as you looked through that jumped off the page at you as far as kids quitting sports?
Before we continue the podcast, I want to let you know that this episode was brought to you by Burns Estate Planning and Wealth Advisors. Their team is experienced, very responsive, and understands your need for integrity and transparency. With 12 locations from here in Hammond, Louisiana, all the way over to Florida, they are definitely the ones to go to. If you need to get in contact with them, check out the description down below. Now, let's get back to the podcast. The difference from, I guess, the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s to today.
So the period of time of where it happened.
Yes. I think that was or is the biggest difference, or the biggest thing that popped out to me when it came to sports. And what it is kids between the ages of 6 to 13, mm-hmm. and 70% of them quit. Yeah.
70%.
Today, quit versus back in the 80s, it was 30%. In the 90s, it dropped some because of the flourishing of travel sports. In the early 2000s, still continued to grow, but that number was like 30%. But you still had some kids quitting. But the thing is, from that point on, about 2015 to today, 70%.
That's insane. 30% stick to rate. And I try to think of what would be the major reason for kids walking away. And I think it's burnout. I really do. And I'm not sure where you lay on that one right there. Like, do you think it is burnout that leads to the biggest reason for kids? And burnout can mean so many different things. It could be burnout from too much, or mentally burn out from dealing with parents and coaches, right?
Yeah, I think that's one of the things they listed is just burnout. When you have the ability to play baseball year round or 8 months out of the year in different areas, like down here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's
And
all year. The weather dictates that you could do it all year long.
and the level of competition is not rec ball level. So there's an expectation for those kids, for those coaches.
So do you think that pressure is one of the major things that go along with it?
When you deep dive, I think so.
Do you think that
we get into it? Yeah.
But pressure from the sense of kids mentally strong enough to handle that pressure, or in leading them to want to walk away because they're not sure how to fully experience the failure aspect of it, like that pressure, or the pressure from the parent, the guardian, that they apply?
I think it's more. I think it's more themselves, because look, they're 8 to 13 years old. They don't know how to cope. I think that might be the biggest one versus parents. And don't get me wrong. There's going to be parents. You've seen them. You've seen that parent that gets in his kid's butt.
Yeah.
And you see other parents are like, "Oh, good job. You can't do anything wrong."
Yeah, that's probably annoying me more.
Right. So I think it's more if you come for me, it'd probably be more the kid that just can't cope with that pressure.
Yeah, and you say that, and the kid that can't cope with that pressure, and I've witnessed it not very often, and not like on a regular basis by any means, but I have witnessed moments of conversation between a parent and a child. Not really from any teams that we've been a part of, but adjacent people that we're close to, where I've witnessed a level of intensity in that conversation, and then a level of just completely tuned out as typically the dad is giving the speech to the kid, and the kid is just completely tuned out, and like I'm over it. Like I'm not hearing it anymore. Like, you're talking, I'm not hearing you. And it sucks because I don't think the dad has a clue that the kid has completely tuned them out and just waiting for their moment. I'm like, that kid right there is your 70% that's looking to walk away at the right moment because they're over this conversation, because there's no new form of motivation that's coming from the parent. It's the same thing. And when you hear the same thing over and over, that doesn't lead to motivation. It just becomes white noise. And so as a parent, as a coach, you try to find different ways to keep that motivation going. But I think that there is a certain level of you've got to work harder, and you're getting on them, where that created a response in a positive light for that kid to actually excel and make some changes to where, okay, that one's run its course. It's time to find a different way to motivate. And there is no blueprint that says this is the successful way to motivate. And I think that's why they have so much motivation on social media. There's so many different avenues of finding people who motivationally speak, whether it be, David Goggins calling you every name under the book, whatever he say, stay hard. And you've got Jocko with presenting good. Whenever Jocko, if you've ever heard his good speech, Jocko Willnick, and good. No, things didn't go our way, good. And that adversity, it's always usually stemmed around adversity. And it seems like adversity creates the most motivation, not the high intensity, you need to want to do better. It's trying to find a way. It seems like adversity is probably the key, but figuring out a way to trigger that adversity into motivation. And I think if someone could figure out that, they're going to be a very wealthy man and probably have very successful children. I just don't think that there's no blueprint to find it. I think everybody knows that there is a way to do it, but each individual's brain is going to process it differently.
There's a lot of great coaches. Saban comes to mind. I like his nothing speech. When a kid gets up, when you get up, when any one of us gets up, the world owes us nothing. You got to go get it. I think he's one of the great motivators. But I also think that with these coaches, these great coaches, they have other guys, assistant coaches, but I think it comes more to the players. And that's why I love team sports. They'll have the big dog that goes and gets it for them. But you'll have those, what do they say? Your team is only as strong as the weakest guy.
Yeah. That's
right?
the old adage.
So those big dogs, those go-getters, I think those guys help motivate the young ones or the guys that are just not there yet to see what coach is talking about. And I think that's one of the biggest things that helps a guy at that level. But it's tough for a guy to do so from the ages of 6 to 13. I think that's tougher to get a kid to jump in to help you out.
And not saying that a kid that's 15 through 18 in high school has things figured out, but each age group you're trying to figure out so much more, and that like I said, that 6 through 13 is a very, very weird age because if you are heavy in athletics, which I mean I've experienced that with my little dude where he's all in on sports, and some friends of his that he was his best friend in like kindergarten and first grade who's like fun, and then they start playing t-ball and basketball together, and then you start to realize, oh well, this one's excelling more, this one's not so much, and then their friendships split, so your friendship circles start to change so much more from that elementary school through junior high to where in high school naturally you're going to end up gravitating towards if you play sports you're going to end up hanging out with the guys that play sports. If you're in the band you're going to hang out with the people that are in the band. If you're just whatever it is, those teammates become your brothers. And you mentioned something about that's why you love team sports, but I also know that you did do individual sports. You ran track, you did field events, and we know that you were motivated enough to play Division I football. There's no doubt about that. I have no idea if you just did track because it was a lot of coaches like football players to do track because you can continue to build athleticism and hit the weight room as well in the off season. So I don't know if that was the only reason why you did it, but was there a chance for you to excel in those field events, in those throwing or in those hurdles? Was there a chance to excel to possibly collegiate track level, or you strictly did it for off season work? To you about Thursday. Thursday dropped a new flavor, salted caramel. The taste of it is so good. Still the same results that you can get from the strawberry lemonade one as well. I've been using it for the last year. Still waking up at 3:50 in the morning. Body is still recovered, ready to get on the next workout. But give it a shot. Promo code NDOZZZ for a discount at checkout.
I didn't want to go to the weight room.
Okay.
So they're like, well, try track. Okay.
So
I was very interested in track. I wanted to throw the discus. I wanted to throw the shot put. I eventually stopped throwing the shot put. And when I was in high school, it was just concentration on discus. When I was a sophomore, I went to the quarterfinals. And I saw a guy, I think he was a senior, throw the discus. Throw the discus. He was a grown man. I think he was 20 years old, but still in high school.
One of those.
Full beard, mustache, got up to the front of the ring and just, I guess he put some water for effect and just, wrestlers when they throw their hair out and they blow their water out into the air. So I'm a sophomore in high school watching this guy, and he throws at 156 feet. 156 feet. It's pretty far. First throw. And then he steps out. He didn't like the throw. Yeah, he takes a scratch. I'm like, what? So I stepped in. I didn't even do the full throw. I just did the half throw. So you go to the front of the ring. Uh-huh. You look away from where you're going to throw. You step forward and you whip your hips around. Yeah. Yep, you know what I'm talking about, right? And I threw it like 122 feet. 122 feet. It was like, I normally throw that 130, 136. That was my average, just to get the warm up, right? Just I wanted my intimidation factor. Didn't work. But no, I could I have excelled at the individual sport of discus if I really worked at it? Yeah.
So but did you didn't find a lack of motivation in that non-team sport? Was it? You didn't have anybody to push you.
You're right. You're
Like
right.
that's kind of what I'm getting at. Like
the way I was pushed was through competition, especially in El Paso. Through competition, I wanted to do better than most of the guys there. I didn't. I came in second every time to this one guy. I beat most of the other guys out there, but I came in second place to this one guy. Real good Hispanic thrower.
Did you have any? I know Roscoe was. He was proud of your accomplishments. He wanted you to work hard, and basically that was, his accolade was tell me that my kid's working hard and we're good. He didn't want to hear that you were being a slacker by any means.
Yeah, I wanted to make sure my education wise,
so
the grades were up there.
So he never really put pressure on you from any sport aspect.
None.
So whenever we talked about, the kids dropping out of sports, you start to think about, because you made the comment about team sports. We love team sports. That's what we're most familiar with. And I don't have a kid that does anything that's an individual sport.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't really have anything to compare it to. And I didn't do anything that was an individual sport myself.
Mm-hmm.
And so you having some type of track and field background that is an individual aspect right there, but knowing that you were motivated enough to achieve football greatness, did you, lack some type of thing? And those kids right there with individual sport, it's close to like 50% of kids drop out of that individual sport whenever they start off, which is just mind blowing. I don't have the answer to it. You don't have the answer to it. And I can only speculate on what an answer might be. But team sport creates a level of social engagement. An individual sport removes that. It's so concentrated. And I think that there are certain levels that parents will get very wrapped up into what an individual sport may be. And a sport, I don't necessarily think is the only thing. I think anything individualized is going to create an amount of pressure on a kid that will start to push them away from it unless they truly embrace it and want to do it, whether it be dance, whether it be music, art. Those things right there are just, it's such an emphasis because there is no social aspect. It is strictly, if you don't put in the time, you will not see the results. There are certain times in a team sport where if your training isn't there and you're still part of the team, you do have some grace period to, hey, let me get my crap together and start working on whatever the skill may be, whether it be soccer and I need to spend more time dribbling, or baseball, I need to spend more time in the cage, whatever it may be. Basketball, you know what? Yep, my handle's been pretty weak, but there's a little bit of, you can hide a little bit. Your performance can be down and you can elevate it back up to where there is no cushion for that individual sport.
Right. I mean,
golf, tennis.
What do they say sometimes, though? Quit taking the play off.
Yeah.
There's kids that'll take plays off in the team sport, and I think that helps them stick around in team sport. Individual sports, I give kudos when I watch track and field. You see the sprinters, the long distance runners, the guys throwing shot put, the guys doing pole vault, guys and gals doing pole vault, long jump, triple jump, all those sports. It's a mental fortitude like no other. You got all these people watching you accomplish a technique like pole vault.
Yeah,
sticking that pole.
It's going to take a lot of failure before you start to understand that you have a skill in it.
Yes, a lot. So to stay grounded and I think every one of those folks that are at that level, almost Olympic or better level, they need to have a little ego.
Yeah, and the problem is that the number of people that achieve anything past high school is such a small number.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that kids are getting burnout at like 13 years old, where over 70% of them are just quitting sports in general at 13 years old. And understand that sometimes you're kind of forced to play a sport to a certain extent as a kid because your parents want you involved in something. And hey, if you're going to quit sports, then you better find another hobby. We need something to do, keep the brain going, and not just play video games or scroll through social media or whatever it may be. There has to be some type of engagement, some type of motivation, something to work towards. Academics could be there too. There's nothing shy, there's nothing wrong with that, where if a kid is going to be completely dedicated to their schoolwork and have a goal of achieving something because they're like, I want to go to Stanford University and I don't want to pay $1, so I am going to put everything I have into my schoolwork. There's no difference in that. There is a certain level of balance, and that you have to have some type of extracurricular, because I think it's just good for the brain to be able to have some type of release. I think a lot of kids' sports become some type of release. The quitting, because it becomes their identity. And when sports start to become your identity, I think that there's just extra layers that are added on to it as well. And like, that's the pressure part of it. It's, people get identified in certain ways, whatever it may be, but it's very easy to say, oh, well, that's Ray. Ray's a big football player. So, we can't mess with Ray. He's a big football player. And that's all you're known as. Little do they know you're really just a geek that plays Dungeons and Dragons.
Mm-hmm.
Star Wars.
Enjoy Star Wars, his comic books.
And your Commodore 64.
Yes, sir.
Nailed it. I was struggling to find what console that was. But no, you did have a completely different outlet from your sports. And that's balance. That's balance that you had right there.
I think so. And you talk about how kids, when they grow up, and you're with this buddy, and you eventually separate from that buddy because your interests have gone here. I tried so hard to stick with my D&D boys. I tried so hard, but
they were just
tougher in high school. It's really
they were
tough
probably
in
just
school.
out getting all the girls, and you were.
They were pulling them left and right.
Definitely.
But it was tough just to go hang out with them because of, demands of your different teams.
Yeah.
Football, basketball, track. They're like, come on, Ray. Come on, Ray.
So of all the individual sports, where we definitely know that there's layers to it that would create burnout, and it could just be a kid just saying, I am done. Like, I'm tired of this being my identity. That is the kid. Like, yes, where's John at? John's at the golf course. Why? Because that's what John does. John plays golf every single day because that is what he does, and he loves it. It's such an individual thing, and then so it becomes their identity. What individual sports have kids stuck to the most?
Individually, looks like track and field,
Okay.
golf, and the different water sports, diving, or whatever the different kind of swims that they have. So
Yeah.
those are the three biggest individual sports that kids stick with.
I could see swimming for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I think swimming, there's like clear progress, right? So meaning that you can see your times getting better from the work that you do, right? So there's immediate results that you're going to get from that.
I think in all three of those sports I just mentioned, you can see that.
And
your golf swing, when you hit that thing. Ding!
Well, and also, so you mentioned golf. So think about it. So swimming, right? So running. We introduced running to my kid before he even was mobile. Right. Whenever he was 4 months old, we pushed him in his first 5K. So as a family, that was my wife and I. We started running. We'd just go run little 5Ks. We'd find one every weekend and go run. We'd push him in the stroller. And then as he got older, he would hop out of the stroller and he'd run across the finish line with us.
Mm-hmm.
So he was around. And then he started doing, when he was probably like 3 years old, at least, maybe even before. Yeah, probably 3. We started signing him up for the 1 mile races.
Okay.
All right. So he'd do the kids' fun run. And then he did that for a good while. And then now he's graduated to whenever he turned about 8 or 9 years old, he's like, I want to run the 5Ks whenever we run. So now he runs a 5K whenever we run the 5K.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like I said, I say all that to say this. He was introduced to it. He could see himself getting better. It created some little mental toughness because it was so individualized, and yet he still plays a lot of team sports.
Mm-hmm.
But if we go sign up for a 5K next weekend, he's down for it. And he will have that forever. So he may hate running at some point in time, but I think as he becomes an adult, he'll be able to fall back on that. Man, I remember when I used to run with my parents, and he'll just start running again. I think swimming will kind of have some of that same line where you swam as a kid and you enjoyed it, and maybe you did it in high school, right? You still have some team aspect, but it's strictly geared around your individual performance.
Mm-hmm.
And even if you get burnt out on it, as an adult, you can come back to it. And usually those people will get into, oh man, you know what? I think I'm gonna do a sprint triathlon. And so it's a run, bike, swim, or a swim, bike, run. And I got the swimming down. I can run a couple miles, sprint triathlon, not too bad. I think that type of sport right there, golf. I mean, that's the whole thing. Whenever you get older, you go play golf, whether executive, whatever, white collar job, salesperson, go play golf, or you're a blue collar guy and just like, you know what I'm going to do in the week? I'm going to swing the sticks.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're introduced to it, I think it's a sport that's easy to come back to. I think the martial arts starts to be that. You're introduced to it as a kid, and there's not always this super high level of competition that's always engaged with it.
Yeah.
To where you've developed the skill set at a young age, you can walk away from it, but it opens up the door to come back to it. Unlike a sport like football, where the window is very small,
Mm-hmm.
and your playing days are going to probably end when you're 17 or 18 years old and high school is over,
Mm-hmm.
you're not coming back to football.
Not
Baseball, you're not coming back to baseball. So I think the burnout factor of it, where kids could just be completely done with it and never return to it, and parents, I think subconsciously can realize that I can introduce my kid to running, I can put him in track, we can work really hard. And he's like, Dad, I'm tired of running, I'm done with it. It's like, oh, it's okay, but later on down the line, hey man, let's go for a run. We're going to sign up for the Crescent City Class and go run the 10K
Mm-hmm.
whenever he's 20 years old. Can't do that with baseball. It's like, dude, no, you don't want to. You say you don't want to play baseball, but man, you're 10. Like you have 8 years left to do this, and then it's like over forever. You sure you want to give it up? And so like that's just adding a little layer of pressure.
Right.
Soccer, man, you sure you want to give it up? Like you've got 8. You're 10, dude. You only got 8 years left to do this. Like you're going to be around for a long time in life. You only got 8 years left to do this before high school's over, and you'll never get to do it again.
Or tell them, hey, you'll get on those little bar leagues. You want to play a soccer bar league or a softball bar
30
league?
and over.
Yeah.
30 and over, and hopefully nobody blows out an ACL.
Yeah. I think with the individualized sport, the other pressure is every time you're on. You got to be on.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what we just mentioned about the team sports, you could take a play off.
Yeah.
Or several plays off. You can do that and get away with it. You can't on the individualized sports.
No, you're gonna drown if you swing.
Right. The other part of the individualized sports, though, that might help is you still have people cheering for you, and you have your teammates there cheering for you. Will that help as much with the mental aspect? I don't know. I don't know if it will or if it won't.
Yeah.
But there's a possibility that because I know when I'm throwing a discus and I had a couple of people come out to watch, teammates, a little excited. But I also took what I had from basketball and from football with me. So I think that helped as well. And I think that helps others that do individual sports too. If they don't have that team.
You could convince yourself that your track teammates, because ultimately you can win the track meet as a school. It's not just individualized.
Right.
I think you can talk yourself into my teammates are out here cheering for me. Where in the end, they're just like, man, let's see how far Ray can throw this. Oh, man, that was awesome. And if you don't and you suck, they're like, dude, that sucked, man. My bad.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
next time, oh, well, I got to go get ready for my thing. Opposed to baseball, which is the most individualized team sport there is. The most. You're playing 9 people on the field, and all of your success is pretty much dependent on your ability for that. You get up to bat, your teammates are cheering for you because they're not going to get their turn to bat for maybe 2 or 3 innings.
Yep.
And so they are locked in for your success, and every person has to wait for their moment to have success. You play
right field.
You play right field.
And you got 4 diamond necklaces on, and you slip and miss the ball 2 times during the game.
How about this? You don't have a ball hit to you for 2 games.
That's it. Yeah.
And then all of a sudden the ball is hit to you and you miss it. And you may not have another ball hit to you for 2 games. And that just lives in your head.
Sits there.
And then you get it. And all you can do is hopefully get up to the plate and get a hit. Get on base. Do something big. Baseball is almost unfair for that. It's one of those sports that's just completely built around failure. If you fail 70% of the time, you will get into the Hall of Fame, dude.
That's that's great. That's right.
It's crazy.
That is absolutely
Play
bonkers.
12 years in the major league and you fail 70% of the time, you're punching a ticket to the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. That's how difficult that game is, though. Really difficult.
And so it's just, Yeah, it's probably the most unfair sport. It's probably the hardest sport to watch my kid grow up playing, and he's decent, he holds his own, but just understanding and coming to terms with one season he hit 500. Yeah, that was 9U. It's going to be really hard to do that for 10U and 11U and 12U. That batting average starts to dip down, and you're like, yeah, you're living around like 400, man. That's really awesome. You're still failing 60% of the time.
Were those kids throwing harder, and now they're starting to develop pitches? Is
Yep.
that what it is?
Yep, that's where we're at right now. But the it's not fun to see and to talk about the fact that kids want to quit, and seeing the hard statistics of like 70%, and then almost 50% of kids quit individualized sports, knowing that sports can create such good moments. Because even whenever we talk about, we mentioned David Goggins and Jocko Willink. Those are two guys that were Navy SEALs. And Navy SEALs work in teams. SEAL team, and they have all the different numbers. So they have SEAL teams. There's still just that aspect of sports where I don't think it's just an American culture. I do think it's a worldwide culture of everything being geared around the one connection you can make is a team. People say it at work. Our team. Everything's a team.
Mm-hmm.
And the success of the team is built around individuals putting forth effort. So I think whenever we hear kids quitting sports, it's just, is this going to lead to them walking away from other things? But as we stated in the previous episode, I think there are certain scenarios that provide the right path to walk away. Maybe it be not being challenged enough. Maybe it be you're challenged so much that you have no chance to succeed. And there's that fine line of failure and success that you have to balance with it. And it's something where I believe, gosh, I remember reading it now. I'm drawing a blank on the actual number, but it's to the extent that in practice, every kid should fail close to 40% of the time in practice. You want them to fail in practice. Practice hard enough, like 60% success rate at a young age in practice, failing 40% of the time. And as they get older, it starts to even level out a little bit more.
Is that a want, or is that will happen?
No, like you need it to happen. You need it to happen to give them the right amount of success in practice. These are youth, right? We're not talking about, high-end high school athletes and college athletes. We're talking about on the youth level.
I think they do.
Forcing them to have some type of failure in practice to create the drive for success, opposed to always setting up the drill to where every kid succeeds. Like there's a certain level where, yes, we want every kid, when we're playing T-ball, 100% success rate. And then as you start to go to the next level, we need to have more failure. We need to have more failure. It needs to balance out to be able to understand what is difficult, what you can excel at, what you need to work at, but still providing kids with a certain level of success and failure in practice, hopefully translating into more success in the games, or not being able to shy away from those moments, whenever it does happen, knowing that so many sports are built around limiting your mistakes, right? Like that's the whole thing where you're playing basketball. We have to limit the turnovers. Football, we got to win the turnover battle, which is a mistake. Yep. And so creating those moments of failure in practice is in the hopes that the success takes over whenever adversity comes along.
When I told you what I learned later in my career is make practice harder than the game's going to be, because when they get to the game, they should be prepared. So we throw different things out there, to different kind of drills to create that failure.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So, that leads me to thinking about kids experiencing enough failure or not experiencing enough failure, and knowing how to cope with that failure. Or especially kids that have had so much success from a team sport setting. They've always played on the best team, always been a part of the best team, and never had struggles while being a part of that best team, right? Because everybody is pretty level on the skill aspect of the sport, and there are certain times whenever even though the skill level may be all in sync, which is great, there's certain moments where you may not be experiencing the success. And by not experiencing the success, you start to see some kids not know how to react to their personal failure, even though the team is having success. And it could come off as selfish, I think, even though it's not intended that way. And I'm not sure how we're supposed to teach that life lesson. I really don't know. I wish I did. But there are certain aspects of being around youth sports and talking about successes and failures and dropout rates and whatever it may be, and truly not knowing the answer. We're trying to figure it out. We're trying to help each other out, help anybody else out there that it is. And the only way to do this is kind of think through it. And witnessing certain kids always have success, and then they continue to have success, but only on the team level, and the personal starts to not affect that way. In that sense right there, is it okay for a parent to say, it's not fair for you to act this way. It's not fair for you to feel sorry for yourself whenever your team just experienced the success. Almost to the extent of, I know I'm kind of throwing out some stuff without giving you all the details, right? But essentially what I'm getting at is, this kid's team is really good. This kid is a solid athlete. All of a sudden, this kid's success on that team is not what that kid expects it to be. So now he's kind of in his own feelings. And now the parents' frustration starts to elevate because they don't think he's a good enough team. They think his teammates deserve a better teammate than what he's showing.
The parents.
The parent is saying, your teammates don't deserve to have a teammate who acts like this when we're celebrating success. I've never witnessed it up until that one moment that it happened.
Mm-hmm.
But I totally understand what he's saying. And I'm not sure how a kid would even process that, if they can process that. Was it clear you fully understand what I'm saying in this situation?
Yeah.
Team experience success. The kid typically has success with all the teams that he plays with. Now the kid is experiencing failure. Team is still experiencing success. Frustrating the parent now because the parent doesn't think that the kid's attitude, that he doesn't think that the team deserves the attitude that his kid is putting out.
So before you continue, let me ask a specific question about the non-success of the kid.
Mm-hmm.
Multiple days, one day, every other day.
Just a bad start to the season. Only been a handful of games.
Handful of games.
Yeah. I mean, we'll play 35, 40 games in the season. And we're talking like tiny percent. Just a small percentage of the games have been played so far. 5 games. 5 games into like a 40-game season.
In baseball.
Yeah.
And he hasn't been very successful.
Thus far.
Is it hitting or is it fielding? Everything.
It's when baseball gods come after you, dude, it comes in waves. The ball finds you every single time.
I don't believe in the baseball gods thing, but okay. I got you.
Just sports gods. Get over it, Ray. It's a term. It's a term. We're not doing yoga calling the devil.
Yeah, well, it's another thing. Anyways.
Well, here's Jesus Christ don't care if you can hit a curveball. All right? You remember that line from
yeah.
You telling me Jesus Christ can't hit a curveball?
What movie was that?
Your God, very good. Jobu hits a curveball.
Yeah, I love that. That's a great movie.
Major League.
Yeah, that's a great movie.
Yeah. So, anyways, yeah, Jesus Christ can hit a curveball. I firmly believe that. If you
yeah.
But when baseball goes that is one sport. I know a lot of sports are like that. Baseball is just kind of always deemed that. And when it's going bad, the ball is going to find you. When you have a bad at bat, and then you're really mad at yourself, you better get your head on a swivel because you're going to have to make a play the next inning. It happens every single time. Same reason, another thing that happens in baseball, you make a guy makes an unbelievable defensive play to end the inning. It's like 95% of the time that guy's the first guy up the next inning. just riding the wave. It's weird how it happens,
Right.
but it just seems like those scenarios in baseball where the guy who makes the unbelievable play to get a third out, leading off the next inning, gets a hit. But whenever you strike out to end the inning and leave two guys stranded on base, they're gonna have a ball hit to you, and we hope you're focused because that's what happens.
Yeah.
So that kind of thing.
That's tough to go. Just sleep it off. It'll be better tomorrow. That's tough to say that. Then is what you're saying. I got you.
Yeah, and that's the thing.
That's a tough one.
It's just been tough, and this is coming, and it's not just this kid because this whole team experiences a lot of success together, and they expect every teammate to just do well because they've done well because they played so much ball together and they've seen everybody succeed. That now they're starting to get to a certain age when they're starting to understand and starting to really see the game and like, oh, so and so, man, he's struggling. I'll hear it, from my dude. Lucas says he's like, I feel bad for him. He just didn't have a good tournament. He hadn't had some good games. I mean, it's not just that. Yeah, we play tournament ball, so everything's usually geared around that tournament. So we know tournament success, tournament failure, but they're starting to realize it, and that kid realizes that he's not doing well. So now he's feeling bad for himself. But then the team wins the tournament. You should be happy. Even though you didn't play well, the team still got it done. They picked you up. But instead, it's moping and sad, kind of for yourself. Your dad saying that your teammates don't deserve that.
That's tough.
Could you pull your kid off that team if that happened? If you felt their attitude, I'm not saying necessarily in the middle of the season, but saying like if this is the attitude that you're going to have, your teammates deserve better and you're not going to be a part of this team. I don't know. I don't know if I could. I think it would be a real conversation of this is where we stand. If I'm playing it out in my head, and if I had to go through this, and how you were speechless, I was 100% speechless too. I didn't know how I would react in that situation, and I think it comes to the point of you continue to watch the attitude and the mental maturity that your kid has. Because you know exactly what they are. And you have to, if you're an intelligent person and you're observant, you don't lose track of the big picture. I think you can objectively observe that over the course of this season and then have a conversation with them of where do you think you stand? Do you think that you can put forth more effort? Do you understand why I was frustrated with you that you being sad of your personal failure and not celebrating in your team's success is a bad thing? And if my kid couldn't answer that question in the way that I think that answer should be made, I'm like, then we need to step away from this team because they deserve a better teammate. I would like to think I could do that. I would like to think I could be objective enough to do that.
I don't think I'm pulling him just because he's so young. I think it's more, I've got to be a little cheerleader. I've got to cheer. I got to cheer for him. And what I mean by that is, all right, you made let's talk about the mistakes. I think you just said that basically. Understand the mistakes and let's build on it. And I'm there just to support that. But here's what I will not take. This is what I will not take. I will not take the negative attitude. I will not take the slouched shoulders. I will not take the woe is me look. I will not take the putting my head down. I won't take that.
Yeah, and that happens. And the thing is that the kid is, all the kids, they're very respectful. They're not me. We've got a couple more than others, but none of them that are bad to where you're like, this kid is, it's not an issue. Mm-hmm. All right. It's just not an issue that's with any kid to where it's all about me. It's after the moment is there. I think it's a feeling of guilt that they can't help their team the way they wanted to help them, but you still have to celebrate the team's success. And I think that's the part that the parent was struggling with of how do you not celebrate your team's success?
No, I get it.
Like you take the picture, you get your ring, but then people are like, hey man, you okay? It's like, if I'm asking if you're okay after your team just won, then the conversation's in the wrong direction.
Right. No, that's
yeah.
That's a tough one.
I don't know. Like I said, I don't know what I do. I'd like to think that with my
Just one tournament? Or has it been several tournaments?
No, it was one, or it was two. Yeah, two. The first one we went 2-1, or 1-2. Yeah, played 3 games. That was it. Went 1-1 on the Saturday. We lost the first game on the Sunday. 3 games. Nobody had a great tournament. You only played 3 games. The following weekend, we made things very difficult for ourselves, where we lost 2 games on Saturday and had to come from the bottom portion of it and win the most games possible, knocking off the 4 seed, the 1 seed, the 2 seed to win the whole tournament.
Oh, wow.
And by coming through the hard path that we created for ourselves, the team had success.
Yeah.
It wasn't easy. The team had success. He didn't have a great tournament. So, and he wasn't the only one that didn't have a great tournament, but that was the way that he reacted to his failure, which I think he puts a lot of pressure on himself as a young kid. I don't think it's necessarily parent pressure either. I think it's young kid pressure. He demands a lot from himself.
Mm-hmm.
And he's not experiencing the success that he had experienced.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just got to, hey man, you got to find some time and put in some extra work.
Right.
You know, and maybe he is putting in extra work, and that makes it frustrating too. But I think it is an interesting dynamic. Whenever I think it's awesome. I think it's awesome that in the world of travel sports and highly competitive sports that we are around, at least that I'm around, that you witness a parent grounded enough to hold their kid accountable for the actions that they're doing, even though it's not egregious, it's not out there, but saying that your teammates deserve a better teammate. That's some strong words, man.
That's big.
That's some strong words to be able to say.
Mm-hmm. That's big. And hopefully it goes in a positive direction.
Yeah.
You know, I hope and I think it will. And he gets better from this and comes out of this like, oh, okay.
And the thing is that his teammates have not lacked any confidence in him. They still expect him to get a hit every time he gets up to bat. They expect him to make every play when the ball is hit to him. They still expect it from him. Like, their confidence in him
has not wavered.
It's
good.
Like the confidence that he's lost in himself.
Mm.
And you can only motivate so much. I say motivate. You can only encourage so much to where, like, dude, you're wearing me out. Like, I don't know what else. Keep trying. You're doing well. No one's riding you. No one's yelling at you because you made a mistake. But you continue to have this slouch shoulder, this bad body language. And it's not affecting the team because the team is still cheering for you and expect you to do great things.
Yeah.
It's just all between the ears. And they're getting older, and it's tough because between the ears is obviously
head coach. Experienced head coach.
Yeah.
He just needs to have one-on-ones with him.
At 10, I don't know how much you get out of him, man. It's like stared into a brick wall sometimes.
Sometimes, yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know, and you've got 11 little personalities that you're trying to get to.
Just 11?
11? It's a lot.
How many kids do you have on the team?
11.
Oh, okay. I thought you had a little bit more. That's why I like just 11.
Yeah. No. 11 kids. I mean, that's, you know, the cost.
Nine play, right?
9 play, 2 on the bench. They rotate in and out.
Yeah.
So 11 kids that's a lot on travel baseball team. Like, that's a number 11, no more than 12. You have more than 12, parents are paying a lot of money. That's something right there that leads into it. Mm-hmm. Cost of travel sports and cost of youth sports is a big thing, and that would deter people from wanting to play.
Yep.
And I mean, it used to be where you pay your $50, $40, whatever it was, to play the rec department, and you get your jersey and your hat, and Mike's Auto is the one that sponsors it, and you're good to go.
Yeah, the 4 things.
And you got 4 things that kind of led to it.
The 4 things of what changed from the 80s to today. The first thing is what we've been talking about a little bit here at the end was cost. In the 80s, sports were cheap or free. Rec sports, and it was rec sports. Today, families spend hundreds to thousands per year.
I'd say hundreds, cuz. Hundreds. A weekend.
Right? Specialization. In the 80s or 90s, kids played 3 to 4 sports a year.
rec departments you
Today,
had seasons.
right.
So,
We talked about that a little bit too. Today, kids often specialize in one sport, but very early.
yes, we see it now.
Mm-hmm.
10 years old.
Travel sports explosion. So travel teams were rare before the 90s. Now they dominate many sports systems. So I know when I got to play a little bit of AAU basketball in the 90s, in 91, we got to travel a little bit. But it was just like they're in the Southwest. Not as big as it is today.
No.
But that's where I think it started was baseball and basketball. Mm-hmm. That's where I think it started. And I think finally, adult pressure, youth sports became more competitive, more commercialized, and more scholarship driven. So, adults are looking at, well, you're going to pay for this. You're going to pay for your college.
Yeah,
and it's got to be through this sport.
Some very delusional thinking right there.
That's a tough way to do it. But honestly, when in the earlier time of this, I think that was driving a lot of kids getting scholarships.
Mm-hmm.
Today, it's with NIL, and this is a totally different podcast. Is with NIL, and everything coming up, and being able to change from school to school to school in college.
Yeah, no, that is a whole nother conversation. And NIL culture, I think, is an extension of travel sports culture, and that is a conversation that we could definitely have one day.
Yeah,
because I think that
the toughest part on that one is not only the NIL piece, but being able to transfer every year.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Therefore,
that is
it stops coaches from looking at a high school kid coming to school, but versus looking at that transfer portal.
Yeah.
Or kids.
Well,
I think we talked about that a little bit.
Yeah, well, that's the parallels of travel sports culture.
Yes.
Directly influencing what collegiate sports culture is becoming through the NIL era.
Mm-hmm.
It is the same thing. Everybody's up for a move, whether it be in travel sports, now in college as well. High school is about the only one you're locked into, but there's a lot of paperwork and loopholes that could be made for kids to move to another district and get some paperwork signed off to be eligible for that season as well.
And I heard there's going to be some new rules coming out in the next 2 years.
So Louisiana?
Yeah,
which will be interesting.
Very
because
interesting.
A lot of entitlement out there that we like to label on the kids that we find out are usually an adult entitlement is where it usually stems from, in my opinion. But the world of youth sports it's always going to change. It's going to evolve in one way or another, whether you're on board with the evolution of it or you oppose the evolution of it. It's going to evolve to a certain thing that society deems is the way it should go. And for right or wrong, it doesn't really matter. But no matter how that evolves, we will always have kids that want to quit. And we will have kids that are pressured in certain ways to continue along. And it's trying to find the right balance in that will allow those kids to experience the joys that we had growing up and not get burned out. And find a way to keep them engaged, to keep a commitment, knowing that the commitment to the sport and the youth level is a much bigger picture because it's about being committed to things whenever you're in early adulthood and then whenever you become a parent, grandparent, and whatever that may be. It's just finding the struggles, working through them, and not always looking for an easy way out. Sometimes quitting may be the right way. But I think overall, we've kind of realized that if you can stick to something and face the adversity, you will probably come out on the other side a lot better person with a little more callous on you to be aware of the situation that surrounds you. And I think that's the ultimate goal whenever it comes to it. But we appreciate everybody for joining us. Make sure you hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, drop us a comment below. There's so many youth sports stories out there. The positive ones always seem to get bypassed by the negative ones, but the positive ones are great. And whenever you hear about a parent wanting to hold their kid accountable for their actions and that their teammates deserve more, to me, that's a very positive one because that's a parent that's willing to have the hard conversation with a young kid to create a big picture for them in life. And I think that's the ultimate goal. But as always, thank you for joining us on the podcast. And until next time, we'll see you on
New Dad Order.